Do you spend more time looking for reloading tools and bench space to work than you do actually reloading? I know I've run into that, and I'm going to show you the tools that helped me clear up my bench and get my time back. Let's go take a look. I'm F-Class John for Ultimate Reloader, and if you're like me, whether you have a 4-foot bench or a 30-foot bench, it is easy to let it junk up, get gear everywhere, and that makes it really tough to find the essential tools when you need to get the job done. I can't tell you how many times I've had to look for a set of tweezers or calipers or a powder funnel or anything else for a project I'm working on, only to know that it is somewhere on the bench underneath something. And look, I'm human, it happens, but I also don't have a good system to help me stay organized. Now, I've tried some things like organizers inside of my actual bench, and that's helped with some of the smaller tools and stuff. But what we're talking about here is presses, bench tools. We're talking about things like paper towels and just all the things that end up on a bench that really don't need to be on a bench at any given time. And if you've seen any of my other videos, you know that I have always fought with this. I have had 4-foot benches covered with stuff. I ultimately went to this rolling bench and ended up having bolts sticking out of it so that I could drop a press on top of it if I needed to. And I was constantly moving bolts around underneath. Like, it was just a horrible process, but it was the only process I knew at the time. I had kind of been over to some friends' houses and they had talked about inline fabrication and the tools that they had. And for whatever reason, when I looked at them at my friends' houses, it was usually with tools that I didn't use. And so I kind of didn't put the two together and understand how it could help me. And it wasn't until I spent some time up at Gavin's with his guys there, and we walked through how they are able to move press to press to press and also organize behind the scenes. And it really put a bug in my brain to say, okay, I need to get that done at my shop. So I reached out to Inline Fabrications. Dan and his crew over there are absolutely amazing. And the first thing you need to understand is Dan and his guys are shooters. They understand what we are looking for when it comes to organization, presses, and how everything needs to kind of work within an ecosystem in a reloading room. And that is really evident when you look at all the products that they make. And I almost think when you look at their website, it's like a tip of the iceberg of what they're actually able to do, because on a lot of the products, you'll notice that it says, and we can also do all of these, and there'll be a list of things. So it's really crazy how much they've thought everything out. But let me start with my first big kind of pain project, which was presses. Now, again, I've used obviously auto drives, which are going to just sit on a bench, but also I have a 550, I have a Summit press, I have a Nexus press. I also have other bench tools that require bolting down, whether it's a K&M bench tool, my roll sizer, and some other things that all take bench space. And I've tried using rail systems with bolts, and that works okay, but you really have to make sure if you do that, that every one of your presses or tools is set up for exactly that dimension of the rail. And like I had tools where no matter what I did, when I bolted them down, they wouldn't work right in a T-track system. So when I talked to Dan and said, hey, I don't know how to fix this, what do I need? He said, first thing you need to look at is the quick change system. So I'm going to walk you through the quick change system, how I have it set up on my bench, and the freedom it's given me with the presses that I use. So let's go take a look at that. And this is it here. This is the quick change mount, and it comes in a couple different sizes, height-wise. I chose for the lowest one. I think it's called a mini. And I did that because my bench is already pretty tall and I don't really need it to be much higher than it is. But there are circumstances where you may want to get a higher version of this. And it's a pretty simple concept. The first is you either bolt it down to a bench or you put it into something like T-track like I have here. And then what you've got is you have a plate. Now this happens to be a little bit more of a universal plate, but you'll notice it has this little beveled angled edge, and that's going to fit right in here. And then your studs right here are going to drop right into the holes here. And what that's going to allow you to do is that's going to sit flat like that. And then he's got just a couple of basically really fancy wing nuts. And you're going to tighten that down. And now I use, for me, instead of a wing nut on my studs here, I just use knurl nuts, and they clamp down real nice and easy for me. But now I have a rock solid mount, and whether it was a press or a bench tool or whatever it is, I can just drop it right in. And you can see I have a wall full of different things that are on these mounts here. And I'm just going to show you real quickly how each of them fits into this system. And I think that's really a great way to show you the versatility of this. This is my 550 on here. Plenty of room for the bullet tray. There's also, over on this side, there is a multi-bin holder. So you can throw a couple of bins on. This is great for if you want to have undone, like a virgin brass or sized brass, and then you want to have your finished round land over here. So you can keep both of them very handy and then have bullets over on this side. I think that's a pretty nice way to go. This is the Rock Chuck Supreme. You can see plenty of clearance. It does, because of how I have it mounted, it does come out a little bit off the edge. So plenty of room to work on. And again, very simple. And if for some reason he doesn't make a plate, he does sell universal plates, which is what I did here. And I simply mounted my bench tool on here, and it just works great, but it gives it a lot of stability if I'm doing any processes on here. This is my Nexus press on here, and I actually have the additional bin system for this as well. And you can see it's a really nice plate that comes out. It's got holders on the side for dies if you need to. But again, functionality is everything. You've seen the quick change mounts, and if you thought that was versatile, take a look at the rail plate. Now the rail plate came out after I got my quick change mount, and I really love my quick change mount. It's super versatile. It, allows me to put a lot of different presses and tools on there, but the rail plate really takes it up a notch because it's obviously larger. It has pre-drilled holes that line up with a number of Inline Fabrication products so that you can easily screw them down into the plate, including the quick change mount. It has a new low mount on it, which is incredibly flush, but still lets you use all of your existing plates. And one of the biggest features are these outside mounting points, or these rails over here. And that's designed so that if you are incorporating this into an existing system on your bench, maybe you already have some T-track, maybe your T-track is, this gap or a wider gap and not exactly lining up with the measurement for a quick change setup. This allows you to have a ton of versatility where you can slide it forward and back to get it exactly where you want lined up. And what I love about this is with my existing T-track, and even if my T-track was further, I could still bring this out by using the last set of rails. But I can bring this out nice and flush. I can cinch this down with my little knurl nuts here. And now everything hangs exactly over the edge of the bench right where I want it to, no matter what press I'm using. And I am personally a really big fan of this low mount right here because I can utilize this space when I'm not putting a tool in here. So if for some reason I'm working on a project, I don't necessarily have to, take this and scoot it out of the way. I can just put something on top of it here and I'm good to go. So the rail plate, I think, is a really great addition to their existing line. And again, it gives you a ton of versatility with all these pre-drilled holes that are in there, and obviously this new mount right here. So I use this one almost all the time right now. I still use my quick mount for other tools, and like my Summit press I like over there because it brings it up a little bit higher. For some people this might be a little bit too low, and again, that's where the Inline Fabrication, it's this whole ecosystem, right? And everything interchanges with everything else. So now that you've seen how I put together all of my presses and my bench tools and stuff like that, let's take a look at the other side of my bench where I'm using the Inline Fabrication to really help with all my smaller tools. As I've said, I faced two real problems in my old reloading room and even in this reloading room which was the presses, the bench tools, the big stuff that I was constantly putting on the floor, shelves, stuff like that. We've solved that problem with the quick change kits, but now we're going to address the small stuff, the comparators, the calipers, the pencils, the tweezers, all the little stuff that really gets lost in a bench when things aren't kept clean. And the wall panel system from Inline Fabrication has really helped me with that. So let me walk through at least how I've set mine up. The big thing to remember is there is no one way and no right way to set up the wall panel, because it is probably the most modular thing that they make. Now, in my case, and I'll take these down just so that you can see it a little bit easier, but it does have a rail system at the top that holds all of your containers, your acro bins, and that's just going to sit up here. It is metal, so if you have magnets, you can always attach stuff. In my case, I have my calculator with a magnet on the back, so I can keep it up out of the way. There are bins right here, so you can see this is one of their large accessory bins, and I keep my blower in it for dusting off my bench. And then it also has a vacuum attachment, so I can put that up here. My tweezers are always hanging right here. I have a magnetizer, demagnetizer that sits here. I've bolted in a set of glove holders right here. And then they also make a paper towel holder that's really nice and functional. So I always have paper towels up out of the way. And then over on this side, I have, and now some of these, I won't say I don't use them exactly the way that they were designed, but that's the beauty, right? It's how you find function in it. So I have a small shelf up here where I have all of my comparators. I have a larger shelf where I have my calipers, my Post-it notes, and a set of headphones. And then this here is actually for holding shell plates, and it's got the right diameter so that you can drop your shell plates right into it. But for me, I don't really use that many shell plates, but I loved having it as a pen holder. So I can always make sure I have my markers and I can have my pens, easy access, and I'm never having to hunt for everything. So the way that it's modular just gives you so much versatility. You can hang peg hooks on it. All of this stuff is actually screwed down so that it's nice and stable. It's bolted into my wall, and you might even notice that I have the LED kit, which is really a pretty inexpensive add-on, but it does come with an app that lets you tailor however you want it to look. Right now, mine is mimicking the voice or sounds. If you have music on, it'll change, and it's going through different colors and matching my tone as we go. And I've really enjoyed having that. Again, it's a pretty inexpensive add-on, but I will say it brightens my day just to have the colors out here. They have some programs where you can do like a sunset or a sunrise or ocean waves and things like that, and I'll periodically change them out, and I really enjoy that aspect of it. But this has kept all of it off of my bench, because before I was having my calculator, like literally everything up here was somewhere on my bench, whether it was pens and pencils, my calipers, comparators, everything was down below. And I just never could find it right. And being able to keep these bins out of the way, I also really like, because I don't necessarily need these bins all the time, and there's not always a good way to store them because they are a little bulky. So the fact that I can just stick them up here and have them out of the way so that when I do need them, they're available, I do like that aspect as well. There you go. That is how I freed up space on my bench. Those are the tools that I found that helps with my presses, my bench tools, all of my little stuff, the calipers, the comparators, tweezers, paper towels, all the things that typically would have junked up my bench all now have a place and have all made my life infinitely easier. So if you are looking to clean up your bench, organize a little bit, and you'd like one complete, we'll just call it an ecosystem that works well together, consider the Inline Fabrication products. They're designed to play well together. They make your life easier. And the nice thing is, as you add on products, you will already know how they work. You'll understand how they interchange with each other, and they will continue to improve your quality of reloading as you go. With that, I hope you get a chance to go out and shoot, have some fun. We will talk later.
I hope you enjoyed this video. If you're watching Ultimate Reloader on TV and want to take advantage of free resources, exclusives, and hot deals, just hold your camera phone, up to the QR code, tap on the link, fill out the information, boom, you're getting Ultimate Reloader emails. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Also, we're on Facebook, YouTube, Rumble, where we've got unrestricted content, and Instagram. Make sure to follow us on all those channels. Ultimate Reloader also has a commercial solutions division serving law enforcement, the military, and the gun industry. We have some unique capabilities, including a comprehensive suite of recoil testing and evaluation capabilities, trigger profiling, and more. Thanks again for watching.